And it was just one of those moments of just like absolute, like crushed, you know, like, you have to be kidding.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but like,
where's the cameras?
We totally, where's Ashton Kutcher? I'm going to knock his ass out. Like,
good?
Yeah.
Sweet. You ready to roll?
Yeah.
To rock?
Yes.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for tuning in. This is the Scoped Exposure podcast again. I'm super excited to be sitting down with a homie, a bro, a barber, a tone wizard, a skater.
Yes. Can't
Dan,
confirm the last one for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're going to do some tricks outside.
I'll get kicked out after this for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about you give I'm messing with the wrong mic.
That's okay.
Okay, there we go. How about you give a little intro for the people at home who might not know who you are?
What's up? I'm Dan Kneeshaw. I don't really know why I'm here. Like, what do you want to know? I play music. I've been skateboarding my whole life. Fast lane, baby. Ain't nothing like it. I don't know.
The band that people would know you best for, especially in Calgary, would be
Monolith.
Yeah.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. Sorry that you had to go through that.
Well, I think that there's a fair amount of people who have probably started watching this because of that band. That's the main reason why I know you. And now it's a little bit different because now you're my barber.
Yeah.
Which I was a little
you
like...
You gotta come through soon, fool.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm going to get called out for like not coming in a little bit. Like,
tighten you up before this shit.
I know. Well, I thought it would be funny to do like a...
on set?
Yeah.
Yo, I honestly thought about that too. That'd
Yeah.
be kind of tight.
Yeah, but you know, no one wants to hear like clippings happening during the podcast.
That's super fun.
Yeah, this is not an ASMR podcast. This is a music podcast. Yeah, cool. So how about, Dan, you've seen the show a couple times, so you kind of know I like to get a little bit of context about each guest that comes on. So how about you give me a little introduction on how you got into music and how you started playing shows?
Word. Well, for me, it all comes from skateboarding. I, like many skateboarders and many of us in the music scene, came from like a fairly broken home. And I remember when I was 5, I remember seeing some fool like pushing down the street, and immediately my brain was just like, yep, that's for you. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, cool, that's for me. And then I had an older stepbrother at the time, and I guess I would have been like 6 or so. And then he had a board, wouldn't let me fuck with it, whatever. We moved around a lot, and so I think like 4 houses later or something like that, we ended up in Saskatoon. And my neighbors across the street, they were like this rad family. I had like 3 girls. There was like 2 twins and an older one. Mm-hmm. And they had this like old ass 80s like vision, like whatever, lurking under their deck. And I stole that shit. They were cool as fuck, man. They were like, yo, did you take that? And I was like, yeah, I took that. And they're like, hey, it's okay, just don't ever do that again. I was like, all right, cool. And then they ended up building a sweet like steep driveway, so they just let me skate the shit out of it. Exactly. So therein lies the music aspect as well. So my older stepbrother at that time, he was a guitar player, and my father was also a guitar player. So my dad was around in my life until I was like 6-ish, and then it was very intermittent until like honestly about 4 or 5 years ago. We didn't see each other, talk to each other for like 15 years. But he was like a huge reason why I play guitar. Like I just remember that from being a kid.
Right. Was he playing anything music wise, or was he just like
fucking
the one
around,
putting on the records and whatnot? Yeah,
kind of just like he'd grab his acoustic. He had this rad old 70s like Bison head Yakima or whatever, and he would just like play his 10 songs that he knew and just be psyched on it. But I thought he was a wizard, I thought he was the best, coolest thing in the world.
Right.
And then my older stepbrother had a guitar, same shit. He was like, a bit more of a metalhead, and they had 2 older brothers, and at like 6 or 7, they introduced me to Metallica and like White Zombie and shit like that. So I was just like, what's this? Yeah. Sorry, I'm clipping.
No, you're all good.
I was like, hey, what the hell is that? And then, so that just opened up everything, dude. Like Master of Puppets, are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Ride the Lightning.
Totally, all that shit, dude. Like, damn. So I'm very blessed to have had that exposure at a very young age. And then it was just like my parents listened to everything. Like I was mainly with my mom and my stepdad for years. And, you know, she was super into classical music, like, Yanni, like all that kind of shit, like a lot of like opera, like symphony and kind of shit. So I was like down. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, we lived in Saskatchewan, fucking country. I'm not down, and just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And but it's just like everything else, you know. I would seek it out. I would go for it. I would look to my older brothers and kind of like go through their tapes and see what the fuck they had. And like, then eventually we've moved around a lot. Like, currently I think I'm in house like 65 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
I'm 31 years old.
Jeez. So like average out, that's like almost like 2 homes a year.
Sometimes, yeah. When I was a kid, sometimes, yeah. It was just like, it was weird, right? Because then I ended up, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, music at that age. So I knew that like skateboarding and guitars, like that's fucking cool. I want to do that.
Right.
And so I think it was like, we moved, so when I was 9, we moved from Saskatchewan to BC, and we moved to this small town called Lumbee, and there wasn't shit to do. It was awesome though. Like my backyard was literally like a mountain.
Right.
So I moved to town, and there was like maybe one other skater at my elementary school, and like a handful of like crusty motherfucking punks at the high school, and they were so sick and they were really cool to me. Mm-hmm. And so I just did my thing. Like I hadn't got into music yet. I hadn't started playing yet, but this is how I met everybody. You know, that's why I love skateboarding. Like it's just, you can go anywhere in the world and have homies to stay with for the rest of your life.
It's like, oh, you can do that trick? Oh, that's cool.
It's just like, you fuck with me, like you vibe with the same thing, like word, we're family now. Mm-hmm. Like that's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
So eventually I had these 3 neighbor kids down the street. They were all my age. They all picked up skateboards. So we all started mobbing around. And then eventually I was like, okay, it's time to play guitar. Like Jimi Hendrix is the coolest motherfucker on the planet. Like all that kind of stuff. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan is really cool. Like heavily listened to a lot of blues growing up. And then, so I saved up all my scratch. I was working. I was doing my shit.
What kind of jobs were you working at the time?
Scrubbing toilets for my stepdad at his carpentry shop, I think.
Oh, all the sawdust.
You know, all that kind of shit. You know, I'm like, I think that might have been a bit later too. I could be wrong on that. But either way, sorry, I'm like,
nope. Everyone just like turned off the podcast right there.
Yeah, you're welcome in advance. So got a little Squire Strat, and I was like, yeah, this is tight. Started riffing on that, played that shit for years. And I'm the kind of person that like, if I really want to do something, I'm going to fucking do it.
Right.
And like, not much is really going to stop me because I'm very self-spiteful, you know, but also skateboarding, that's what taught me everything. That's the only reason I'm here. It's just like, oh, you fell, too fucking bad. Get back up and try it.
Right.
Like just adjust and do it again, you know, think about what you did and redo it.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm always grateful for that. And then, so with music, I kind of like looked at it the same way, if it makes sense. I had this real weird epiphany one time. I was just playing around. I was really frustrated. I was kind of in the box a little bit, you know, I was just fucking stuck. And then just something came into my head, and I was just like, okay, there's only 12 notes in the North American, like, scale, octave, right? You know, open to 12th fret, that's your whole fucking unit.
Right.
Whatever note you want to play next, you can only fuck it up 11 times before you get it. You know, and for me, I was just like,
cool way to look at it.
I was like, oh, okay, that kind of cuts down the learning process a little bit. It kind of like, it makes that big scary fretboard a little bit smaller, you know? And I'm like, all right, cool, I can actually figure this out. And then I ended up like years later, still just like obsessing over music, dude. Like summertime, skating. Wintertime, I would lock myself in my room for like the entire weekend, grab an album and learn the motherfucker. Like my dad, like, you know, my stepdad, one of the only cool things he ever did for me was just like, if you want to be a good guitar player, this is the album. Texas Flood, Stevie Ray Vaughan, like it took me a little bit longer, but yeah, I learned that, you know.
What was one of the first records that you learned in those, like, you know, sessions?
Master of Puppets, dude. Oh, I got a priority list, dog. Like,
yeah.
You know, like, dude, I need to play that shit.
Yeah.
I want it to be Kirk Hammett.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, I would chip away at it, like, you know, obsess, learn, and then I eventually got tired of playing other people's songs, and I was just like, hey, like, how do we move on? And so this time we fucking moved again a handful more times. We ended up in Vernon. This is a few years later, and so I'm taking shit pretty seriously. I'm going to a high school with a kid who, his name is John, and he and I like hit it off like one of the first days, and he was this fucking white kid with dreadlocks, and I was just like, who is this cat?
Right.
And then like this
Is John skating as well?
No, he wasn't a skater. He was just chilling. You know, he's got a crazy story too. Like, he's just been hustling since he was a kid. But we immediately vibed, and I was like, yo, I heard you play guitar. And he's like, yeah, I play guitar. And I was like, where do you live? And he's like, Mission Hill. I'm like, oh. And we lived a block away from each other. And so like that week we linked up, and I went over to his house, and it was on. We were together every day after school, playing, riffing, just like back and forth and fucking around, drinking. He would drink like a 12-pack of Pepsi a day. It was nuts. It was like, but yeah, like it was.
Dude has a death sentence
for real.
For sure. Yeah.
No, he's such a G. We still keep in touch. But anyways,
shout out to John.
Respect. I started taking lessons from this fucking old blues player from Texas. His name's Dave Anthony. Also shout out, no idea where you're at. But like, that dude just broke down so many barriers for me, as far as just like, think like slow and smooth, and eventually you'll get faster, right? And just like all these little things of just like how to like make it work for you, instead of like, I would make things really hard for myself and like stretch and make all these weird little figures on my hand, and it was just like, why the fuck is this so hard? Right. And he would just be like, yo dog, just like chill a minute, you know? So he would reshuffle my hand, and I'm like, oh, well, that's way easier that way, so I should probably listen to this fool. And so he taught me everything. Like, I still hear him when I play. You know, that's kind of a guitar player's curse. If they say if you take lessons that you'll always kind of sound like a guitar teacher. Gotcha. But I'm kind of honored. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's dope. Yeah. Like, that dude rips. And so, and then, yeah, so shortly after that, me and that John dude had a quick little band. We played a show, and we jammed like 4 times, played like a 45-minute set or some shit like that. Just like all covers. It was nothing fun. It was nothing crazy, but it was hella fun. Yeah. And then shortly after that, just kind of like, I got all fucked up with drugs. That's kind of like a whole nother fucking thing. Right. I'm like very open to it all. So if anyone ever has any questions about that shit, or if you need somebody to talk to, please come and fucking talk to me. All right. So the first bout, when I was still living in Lumbee, I broke my arm really bad. I snapped my arm completely backwards against my shoulder. Oh. So I blew the motherfucker up. Jeez. So obviously,
I'm guessing?
Skateboarding. Yeah. This is skateboarding. Oh, ironically, so get this shit. So living in Lumbee, my mother and I, when we moved there, we started the skateboard park committee. And so we had worked for a long time to get this shit going. I'd picked up bottles after bottles, like hot dog drive after all that shit, dude. Like, we just like did stuff around the community, just like raise money so we can get this skate park. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, we did everything we could. So hustling, dude. Yeah. Every weekend, dude. I was out there picking up cigarette butts and shit after like baseball fest, like, oh. And so the day that the crew comes and drives the spikes into the ground, right, I break my fucking arm. Right beside where the park was getting built. And so I'm like tripping, dude. Like, oh my God. Either way, it takes a week to get surgery because it's so like mangled and like fucked up and swollen. They're like, we can't even operate on the thing the size of a football. You know,
are you just looking like a like in the VR stuff? Like, it's just like your arms are like not even. Well, like, there's no bones to it.
Well, I mean, I remember like standing up, and my cousin was with me. Kind of like he was skating with me, but we were like estranged cousins. It was weird. He was tight. But I remember like falling, looking at it. I looked over at him, and I was just like, ah! And he's just like looked at me, and then just fucking took off down the street, dude, like gone. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's just like, I'm going to get your mom. And then, but I just remember like seeing my arm just like like fall, and I was just like, all right, this is bad. like I'm not gonna walk this off.
Just know, like,
you can't walk this off.
Yeah.
And so either way, get the surgery, get the whole shit. But in that time, I get fucked up with pills. So T3s, Percocets, whatever. I just like something clicked in my brain where it was just like, yo, what was that? You know, I got introduced to weed shortly after that, and then, you know, my whole fucking world just kind of crumbled just because we moved around so much. I found it hard to make friends and yada yada yada, and like real connections, you know.
Yeah.
So I've always just been kind of a lone wolf. I just do my own fucking thing and mob around.
Yeah.
But like, so in Vernon, back to that story, if you're not already completely confused, with the music shit, I got clean for a bit. Like I got good for a bit after that whole thing, and then I was like straight edge. That was actually where hardcore kind of came in. Hey, introduce the hardcore thing.
Yeah.
So kids in my school were like punks and hardcores, whole fucking Mohawk shit, and they were just misfits. You know, like I went to a school in Vernon that was like in South Vernon called Fulton, and it was nice. Like it was a beautiful facility and it was great, but there was like a lot of ghetto shit. Like,
sure.
You know, it was a rough school. It was like some rough kids that went there, and shit happened. You know, Vernon was a really rough town to grow up in. Like, watch people get stabbed and shit at like 13, 14 years old, like almost every other day at the skate park. Like that was what I was raised. Like that's what I did myself. You know, I just saw some really buck shit. And so, with the music, with the hardcore thing, I kind of saw that straight edge movement, and I was just like, whoa, that's fucking. It's cool to be not fucked up.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Were you going to shows and seeing like the X's on kids' hands?
And when school and shit, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then like this one, I forget her name, but this one like older cat, she was in grade 12, I was in grade 8. For some reason the older dude, like people fucked with me. Like they loved, like they were just down to like have me.
Well, when you're that age, you're like, it just happens that you're looking up to that older grade or whoever it is.
When I think like older cats kind of recognize that shit too once in a while. They're like, oh, this kid's actually down.
Right.
Like, you know, this kid's like super into it, so we should show him the way. And like I see that all the time with skateboarding, with music, and I'm like always extending the hand, like,
sure,
welcome to the rabbit hole. You know, like come on down, it's deep.
Right.
You know, but yeah, so like I kind of like latched on with them, and I was like, yo, this is really dope. And yeah, at the time, like the hardcore scene in the Okanagan was fucking mental, dude. Like Born for Battle, Horizons, like I'm gonna forget a bunch, and you can cuss me out for it in the comments, but whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like every weekend there seemed to be a show, and it was just like live, you know, it was packed.
Right.
Everybody was like homies, everybody was cool, but I was still like that loner kid, you know. I just went and fucked with myself a little bit, like in the back corner, like moshed every once in a while, did my own thing.
Do you remember the venues that were back in the day? Because I know right now, like Kelowna.
That's a Columbus Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one was big time with the pillar, people getting rocked off that thing. There was one, I remember this one show at the Alpine Center in Vernon. I cannot recall the band, but I do remember this is the last, obviously, for good reasons, the last time they were ever allowed to be there, but some fool rolled his street bike in and did a donut and was like just smoking out the joint. Shit. It was tight. And then people got thrown through the front windows, and they're obviously like, you're fucking get out of here. Like,
bye.
So yeah, get out of here. But yeah, she would like that would happen all the time. I remember this one, this was like the benchmark show for me where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
On Broken Wings, Acacia Strain, and 2 other bands from Massachusetts came through.
Okay.
That was the most violent show I've ever been to. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I don't know why, but like, yeah, I'm wasting a lot of time on this shit, I think.
You're fine.
But either way, the Unbroken Wing dude, like there was this person that had been following them around, kind of starting shit on the tour, I guess. Either way, before the show starts, this lady, like throws a piece of fruit at the band or something, and it actually like punctures the guitar player's eye. So they take him up to the Vernon Jubilee Hospital, which is the worst hospital in Western Canada.
Dang.
And so this fool's like cooked. And then the singer of this band, I'm like literally about to like shake his hand and like, can I buy some merch from you? This dude stands up, and I'm not condoning this band in any way at all, but like knocks this fucking chick out.
Fuck.
I was like, holy fuck. And then he sits down and he's like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, fucking, yeah. With crazy grills in his mouth and shit. I was like, what am I getting into? Like, oh my God. And then like, yeah, show goes on. People are just getting wild. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Jeez.
And then after the show,
who has the audacity to throw fruit in any social setting?
There was like a whole backstory to it that is just some old bullshit. But
well, if someone knows about that, just like leave it in the comments or something.
Vernon Lokes, holler. And then after the show was nuts. It was like an 80-person brawl, still stemming from that bullshit from the beginning.
Sure.
But my one thing I remember was this dude, I forget what band he was played in, but he was loading out of the show, I remember, and his arms were like the size of my legs, dude. And he was just picking up 2 412s by himself and like going out the door. And then I remember him grabbing people during this like 80-person brawl and just like windmilling them over his head. And I was just like,
jeez,
I'm the fuck out of here. Like, let's go.
That's a straight up Mortal Kombat move.
It was nuts. So yeah, Vernon, like the Okanagan had like live shit for a minute, you know. It was like energetic, you know, people were involved. I just feel like it was interesting. I don't know, I felt like it had like an identity crisis almost. Like, I just didn't understand, like, I would roll up to these shows and everybody would be in like these triple XL tees and these baggy ass pants and these fucking like Biggie and Tupac shirts and be like, am I at a hardcore show? Like, where the fuck am I? Yeah. So it was just interesting kind of learning about that and like understanding that like how much actually goes behind hardcore, right?
Absolutely.
How closely it's linked to hip hop. And now, like, to be honest, like I don't really listen to a lot of hardcore at all. Like, I'm so into hip hop and the production of that and like how fun that can be.
Yeah.
You know, for me, hardcore just kind of got a little bland and it just got a little too easy, right?
Yeah.
Just for me to play and just create some like open 1/4. Got a song. Yeah. Like, you know, like classic.
Very true.
But yeah, I don't know. It's so yeah, that was like kind of the Vernon days. And then I moved and I played with a couple other people there, I guess. But then I moved to Calgary and that was a trip. Or no, so then more shit happened. I got back into drugs and that got real heavy. I guess to sum it up, I got into heroin. I was selling drugs and guns. A homie and I flipped a car trying to kill ourselves.
Whoa.
We had guns pointed at us. We had homies get shot and murdered. We had like a lot of really bad stuff go down. And like that's like a whole thing. And I'll like I said, I'll happily tell that shit. But like that's like a 6-month window. When I tell people that story, they're like, that's like 4 years of life. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
So either way, I ended up like having this moment of clarity again and being like, holy fuck, I'm not right. You know, I need to do something about this shit.
How old are you at this point?
19.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I made the decision to go to rehab. And I went for this 30-day outpatient thing. So I had to go home every night and like deal with the world. You know, I had to go deal with my shit on the walk home, like see the motherfuckers I used to sell crack to, like, you know, that kind of thing. And like,
was that like an option at the time? Like, where
it was the only option.
Well, that was the only option.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, and so
versus being in a like more of a bubble. For lack of a better
yeah. I mean, you can go. I mean, for me, like, I just ducats, man. The money was always the thing. Like, we didn't come from shit,
right?
You know, and so, yeah, it was just one of those things where like, I was down. I was so desperate to change. Like, I knew that this wasn't going to work. I was going to kill myself. And I actually had a plan. You know, I was going to be like suicide by cop. And I was just like, I hated cops. And like, I was like, fuck it. 2 birds done at once. Right. And I was just like over it. You know, it was like really fucked up shit. But that's where your mind goes when you're sick. Right. And that's all that is a thing. It's just, you're so sick and you're so like twisted because nothing is making sense. And so, yeah, I'm really happy that I took that leap and I stuck my hand out and somebody grabbed it and took care of me. And like, you know, they showed me the way and like, I took that shit seriously. You know, everything they told me, I was like, yup, you got it. You want me to do like a meeting a day for 90 days? You fucking bet I'm going to be at 2, you know, like I want to learn this shit. Like I want to know.
Yeah.
Did
you find that, that music was, an encouragement of like that aspect, or was that the thing that kind of
everything took a back seat at that point,
right?
You know, I like even skating was sick to have back at that point because I'd put that away. I'd almost sold all my guitars and shit like that, like, you know, do drugs and whatever and yeah, everything took a back seat for a couple of years just because like I really knew that I needed this.
Right.
I needed to figure this out. But then I moved to Calgary just on a whim. I was over at Vernon. I was still kind of getting recognized out in the street a little bit, and like and some shit you don't want to be involved with, you know, like just because I got out the thing doesn't mean that game isn't still turning, you know, like people are still out there doing their thing.
Right.
And it's just like, it's not that people were like looking or whatever the fuck. It's a weird place. It's a tense little town. It's like someone put it really well. Is Calgary is a really beautiful place. Like it's a community, right? Places like that for me growing up it was a place to live, you know, because I get that all the time. Like, oh, you're from Vernon? Like, oh, it's beautiful. I'm like, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. You know, I was thinking of all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was like over it. I'm like, fuck it, I'm moving somewhere. Had a place in Vancouver lined up with like 6 homies in a house. They weren't sure. It was like, it could work. And then I was like, okay, it could work then. And then I had a homie out here who stayed with me while he went to rehab in Vernon. And so he's like, yo, homie, I got full top level of a house, $400 a month for like rent. You can use whatever you want. If you want a job, I got you lined up with a stair joint. Like I used to make prefabricated stairs. And
prefabricated stairs?
Yeah, I'd just be like, yeah, it's like you roll out this like big ass like long like 2x6 and you cut the little jig into it and then you just hammer them shits together and then boom, off to the new house they go. It was fun.
Yeah.
But so I remember I was sitting in my car, I had all my stuff packed up and I didn't know where I was gonna go.
So you were like, I'll either go east or I'll go west.
Fully. So I flipped a coin over it. Obviously best of 3. Heads was Vancouver, tails was Calgary, and boom.
Yeah.
You know, so
when you did that flip, were you like in your, because it's always that
in my heart I knew I was going to be here.
Right.
Like I came out here to visit the spot like a month beforehand, and I was like, this is the one. This is going to be the one, you know. And so, but I'm fucking weird, and I like to flip coins over shit because it's just like intuition-y kind of stuff. I don't know.
Well, it's that classic thing where it's like you flip a coin and then whatever the outcome is, are you like,
I'm still going to do what I want.
Yeah.
I'm still going to do whatever I want. Yeah. So either way, Calgary got here and I'm just like, whoa, big old city. I can disappear. No one knows who I am. This is so sick. You know, but again, skateboarding. Within a year, I'm homies with everybody at the skate park. You know, I'm finding my way. I think the first show that I came to here was with my friend Drew Cook. Shout out Drew. It was Lionheart at the New Black.
Oh, okay.
And I remember, I got here, did that prefab stair job for a minute, and then I got a job working at the Source Skate Shop in Shaughnessy.
Yeah.
And the manager of that store used to be Eric Hussey. Fuck yeah, Eric Hussey, you're the best. He is like how I got linked in with all that whole thing. He's like, oh, you're into hardcore? Like, come with us.
Right. Kind
of thing. And so that was how I met like all those cats. So either way, I roll to this show. First person I see is Skinny, Andrew. And, you know, he's just like, we rolled up for the last band. And he's just like, oh, fuck it, just go in. You know? And then I met this dude, he's like this bald dude. And he's a shorter, kind of like wider dude. And he's like, oh, you're Eric's homie. You're Dan. And I'm like, yeah, like, what's up? And this was Jeff.
Oh, okay.
And so that was the first time I met that dude. And then I watched him just get buck in that pit. Like he didn't give a shit. And that's why I was like, these guys are amazing. But yeah, so I kind of like, we all like kicked it for really hard for a long time, like a couple years. We were together almost every day, but I still didn't like play hardcore. You know, I've never really played in a hardcore band. Just been around, lurking and around the fringes, appreciating. But
did you ever go to a show at, like, this is before my time living here, but like the Skate Shack?
Yeah, I saw Power Trip there. When they were supposed to be there was Zabulba and Alpha and Omega, and
that show has been mentioned on this podcast
that whole thing, dude. So Power Trip rolls in on 2 wheels, just like cranking, and we're just like, this shit is going down. And so like everyone goes to their van, and we just grab all their shit, we set it up for them, and they're just like, fuck, like, okay, and then they crushed it. That was like one of the sickest shows ever. It was so much fun, just like the whole vibe of it. Skate Shack was sick. We played there a few times. You know, Cody and I did like a 2-man show years ago when when we were a really baby band. So that was fun.
Just to kind of give some context, because I don't actually know much about that venue, like how it was laid out.
Prison cell.
Was there like a skateboarding aspect to it as well?
Skate shack?
Yeah.
No, it's like an ice skating shack.
Oh,
Yeah, dude. So it was like a
see.
motherfucking like outdoor rink. And then this was like the little shack that you get your skates changed in. And so there's like rubber matting and stuff like near the front door. And like, it would kind of, it was a, dude.
So you're like trying to pay cover for the show when you're like bouncing around.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's, that spot was a trip. It was fun though.
Yeah.
But the sound was hard to dial in there, obviously, if you're trying to be a tone guy. But like, it was a prison cell. It was just, she was bouncing off the walls everywhere. It was awesome.
Prison cell.
And it's like once you're in there, you're locked and loaded, dude. Once those big boys start swinging, like there ain't nowhere to hide.
Yeah, because it's just brick walls on the side.
Exactly. There. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So you, so what was kind of the pivotal moment for you when it came time to like start playing music in Calgary, specifically like Monolith?
So I started playing music again after I worked at the Palomino for a number of years as well. And one of the guys that I met right away was Trenton. And so he and I just hit it off immediately. And he's like, yo, I play in this band. Like, we just had to kick out our bass player and our drummer. Like, and we have a show in Saskatoon on Saturday. Do you want to come? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And so we jammed the night before, learned the whole set, got in the car. We all stayed over that night, got in the car, drove to Saskatoon, played the show, came home. Mm-hmm. It was so much fun. And so I was down for those dudes for a minute. And so that was like rock and roll. That was like full on kind of like fuzz rock, if you will, whatever, stoner rock, if you want to call it that. Super fun for a long time. And then I just kind of got over it. You know, there's inklings of just like, I need something a bit heavier. Mm-hmm. I need something a bit sadder.
Yeah.
And then, then Monolith kind of started happening because I was coming up with these riffs and I was bringing them to the band and like, get shut down. I'm like, all right, I'm stockpile that shit for later.
Yeah.
And then, then it just kind of got to a point where Cody had tattooed me a couple times or something. And like, we had just become pals. Like I really liked him. I thought he's an amazing musician and like, he's just a beast of a drummer and like a dude. And then shout out Cody, like fuck yeah, dude. And then Braden Rodwell as well, that was the first iteration of it all. And then I kind of forget how we all got into the same room. We just all talked about making like stoner metal, like kind of like Electric Wizardy type shit, I guess. And then they were like, yeah, like do it. And so we did it. We wrote a couple things, we did a couple shows, it was fun. And then Braden dipped, and then we played a few more, we introduced Mike Sharp, and that was when things kind of started getting a little bit like, oh, there's like some sauce here now. Yeah, you know, like there's something here. And then so the riff started changing a little bit. We kind of wanted to slow things down and just like have a lot of room to breathe, kind of thing. You know, we want it to be really like fluctuating and like emotional and like a lot of build-ups, a lot of breakdowns, and a lot of just like that kind of stuff. And like Cody, like sickest drummer in the world, but like no half speed, you know, like he's a rabbit, and that's like the sickest thing, right? And like at the time too, mortality. The other thing too, at that time too, like mortality rate was just on one, and have continued to be on one. Right. You know, so it was kind of like dog, like. I feel like being with us, you're not happy because we're asking you to do shit you don't really want to do. Yeah. You know, and so we kind of had to have uncomfortable conversation, but I think we were like, obviously we're all in a good place now. We're all chill. Yeah. You know, like it's just nothing but
that
love.
Is very true. Like when we sat down with Cody on his podcast, we were talking about like, you know, the bands that he's playing in is like Withdrawal, just like blistering speeds of metal. And then like mortality rate's just like has one speed. Fast. And then even though he's not drumming in Serration, it's like that band has like a lot
same
of
vibe
like
though, like
blast beats and
same
stuff
energy,
like that.
Right? Like he's still there, right? Yeah. And like that's the thing is Cody kind of fired me up a little bit to be like, okay, cool, like this is fun, right? Like you can play faster, there's all this other stuff. So we really inspired each other a lot. It took a lot away from him. Sure. And so once all that whole thing happened, Mike had said like, hey, there's this dude named Nick. He plays drums, you know, he's been in all, you know, laundry list of Calgary bands. And then he's like, we should hit him up. And I was like, all right. So we hit him up, went to Beano.
Shout out Beano.
Shout out, respect. Went up, met with that absolute angel of a human being, and it was on. Right. You know, like with people, I'm fairly. I feel like I'm intuitive in enough sense of like I'll know within 15 seconds whether I'm like really gonna vibe with you or not. Whether we're gonna have real connection, a real conversation, right? Like talk about some horrible shit, talk about some really great shit.
Yeah.
Nick was just one of those dudes where he was like timid at first, but like once we like actually just vibed, it was just like holy cow, you know. And so we showed him our spot, we showed him where we jammed, we showed him all the stuff. We were like, yeah, this is like where you want to be now. Like if you want to be here, this is where you're at. So yeah, shortly after that, it was just like we kind of rifled off a lot of the old songs we were playing, and then we just started writing some new stuff right away, which felt good. And he kind of changed up a lot of the stuff as well too, and kind of made it like, oh, I'm like, I was just like, dude, whatever we have written, like, have written, like, fair game.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. Like, I don't care, because I know it's gonna sound dope. I just got faith, you know. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
And
put the trust up front.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like it's all, if it changes, it changes. That's okay, you know, and that's all good. And so yeah, we had a lot of fun, like learning and practicing, and then we kind of rushed because we tried to record our first the record. We kind of rushed it. It was like maybe 7 weeks after he joined or something like that.
Sure.
Either way, so we were recording it with a homie. That took a long time. It was very manual in the sense of like I wanted 4 tracks of guitars, so I was going to use 2 different guitars. And yeah, I wanted so yeah, 4 different guitars, 2 different guitars, like 4 different amps, if you will, like just to vary up the tone a little bit and make it just thicker, bigger. And then so that took a long time. That was like 4 days straight almost of playing guitar.
Yeah.
Of just like, there was like an
1 amp a day.
Basically, there was one, like, and it was like, cool, I played it this way, and now I have to mimic it the exact same way on this amp. Right. And now with this guitar, and like that whole thing. And so I had to play everything.
Which amps were you using at the time? If you can remember.
No, I still have them.
Oh, you still have all of them?
I still have most of them. I had to sell some shit lately, but that sucks. But I still have, I use, my main amps have always been a Laney VH100R from 99 with a matching cab. And then I have a 1980, don't quote me. If there's any other nerds out there, I'm happy to discuss.
There's going to be one person.
That's cool. Yeah, one watching.
It's going to be you.
It'll be me watching it being like, holy fuck, how can I possibly be like a cringe personified?
I got the year off by 2.
God damn it. Yeah, so then it's like a 1980s to 83 to 86 Laney AOR, which got, for me, is like a huge thing because like I love Sleep, the band Sleep. Like Matt Pike is a fucking raddest guitar player ever, I think. And so like that was like their main tone, and I was just like, whoa, like that's really dope. Yeah. Found one, you know, just never getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been like the main rig for a long time.
And then some that have come and gone over the past few years.
More guitars. I kind of cycled through a lot of guitars there for a bit. I was just trying to find the right shit, and I still feel like I'm kind of looking like it's just like it's almost there.
Right.
But there's that one little thing that's just like
yeah,
I'm picky. But where were we?
Oh, we were talking about Monolith recording.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we recorded that whole shit. We got it all done, like done. Buttoned that shit up. Started doing some mixes and stuff like that. And then so we started recording that in like, I want to say like August or September, maybe October, 2016.
Okay, yeah,
maybe like a minute ago, I want to say.
Because the first time, like Monolith is actually one of the very first, probably like it's maybe in the first 10 scoped exposure videos. Right. Because the first time we filmed you guys was at the Calgary Fest when it was at Distortion.
The Western Front.
Yeah.
Word.
And yeah. You guys, well, it's definitely like as the fest has progressed, it's gotten a little bit more diverse as far 100%. As the different kind of bands. But you guys were kind of like the
oddballs.
The oddballs.
Fuck yeah, we were. I was down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
If you want to, you want us to play, I'll play. Like, yeah.
I just remember when you were setting up, and then the mic was like this, and then all the way.
Yeah. Just easier to do it that way. I did it like that for like a long time, and it's just like, it looks dumb as hell and you look like an idiot, but if you think about it, like I want to be able to talk after the show, and like doing this, you're just like, it's causing a lot of friction, a lot of harsh shit on your throat. So if you open that up a bit better, it's like you have more control. That's just what I found.
And it just looks more sick.
Lemmy, come on.
Yeah. Very true. So yeah, like late 2016.
Yeah. And then so January 2017 now, it's been a minute since we'd all chatted and whatever. And I got a phone call like 2 or 3 days after my birthday, and it's Andre, the dude who produced the record. And he's like, dog, my computer crashed.
Oh, no.
I lost everything. Like your album, my album, shit I've been working on for 3 years. And it was just one of those moments of just like absolute, like crushed, you know, like, you have to be kidding.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but like,
where's the cameras?
Where's Ashton Kutcher? I'm gonna knock his ass out. Like, you know, like, yeah, it was just such a surreal, like, holy shit, like a piece of me just went missing almost.
Right.
And so that like really, and here's the thing too, like we knew there was nothing he could have done, straight up. Yeah. And I was like, I'd not for a single moment have I ever hold that against him personally. It was a computer error. That is it. Like final end. And like a lot of people came at us all sideways afterwards, being like, "Oh, well, you should fucking get him to pay." And like, no, dude, it wasn't his fault. Like, it's just shit happens, and shit was supposed to happen, right? And like at the time, it was super, super hard and difficult to deal with. But like, we grew from it. You know, that hurt and that fueled it.
Yeah.
You know, I was pissed a little bit. And so I wanted to get it done. I wanted to get it right. You know, so this next time we got offered Liam, my dude.
Shout out to Liam.
Seriously, man. Like, so he hit us up right away.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of love from the community too. Like, you know, like I'd sunk like everything I personally had into that shit.
Right. Well, not only like money, but time.
Time, money, like all that, you know, but it's just like, the biggest thing was just like, okay, we have to come up with this money to re-record this thing again. Like, how the hell are we going to do this? Like, do we want to even?
Right.
And so the community reached out, and like, I kind of reached out as well, like being like, what do we do? And someone said benefit show. And I was like, that's corny. I feel like it's a handout. But then Arlen, the guy who owns the Palomino, like, love you, Arlen, as well, was just like, nah, don't even sweat it. Like, here's the date. It's already set up. Pick who you want to play with.
Sick.
I was like, holy cow. And he's like, everything's going to you other than what you want to pay the bands kind of thing. And I was like, holy shit, okay. So we ended up making like enough to record right there. Like, like all of it, we filled the house. Like, that was such a, like a humbling moment, because it was just like, holy fuck, people actually might give a shit.
Yeah.
Like,
who was playing that show? Mortality
Rate, Trench, and oh my God, don't crucify me. I don't remember.
I think I remember, like, that was just before, or maybe a year before I moved, but I think I remember seeing photos that Cole, because like you said, Mortality Rate and Trench, I was like, I'm just seeing Cole's photos.
It was at the Palomino.
At the Pal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like did it, and then Liam was just like, yo, I have a homie, his name is Pat Pilardi over at Public Lunch. Fuck yeah, Pat, you're also a beast. He was just like, yo, he offered to let you guys come in on the weekends for half price.
Very sick.
I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, what a blessing. And so we were like, absolutely 100%, obviously we're gonna take that offering. Like, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
And so we made that shit happen, dude. Like, the first weekend, the first day we spent just kind of like dicking around, setting things up, like going, like checking tones, whatever, mic placements and all that kind of stuff. And then we like ran through the set a couple times, and we were trying to think of like, do we do it one at a time? Do we do it? Yada, yada. And then at the end of the day, we're like, nah, that ain't sitting well. Tomorrow we're coming straight in the morning. We're going to come in here live off the floor, all three of us together, like front to back.
Sick.
And so that was what we did. It took us 4 tries. The 4th try, we did the first 4 songs in a row, took a break, and then we did the last 4 in a row.
Awesome.
Like no cuts, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 weeks later, something like that, I went and did backup guitars just to thicken it up a little bit, and then vocals as well, just over top. So like all the instrumental shit, that's live.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like one of the things that like I'm proud of, I guess. Like I don't tend to think I'm a very proud person. I'm not like an egotistical dude, I don't think. I really hope I don't ever come across that way, but like I'm really proud of that.
Yeah. That
was kind of fucked up. You know, there's like this moment of like it's on, you know, and then
well, like I'm kind of guilty of that as well, like not giving myself credit. Like I'm one to always be like, oh, you know, I want to give credit where credit's due, but I never do that for myself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Like, just keep it humble, keep it behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, with that whole thing wrapped up, we were cooling. We got it mixed. We got it mastered. Then we did our release, and then I was sick. Like, we just played a few more shows. We had a really good time doing what we do. And then last year. Yeah, it was last year. So, 2019 was a shit year for me. But so in March, I left a job that I was like really in love with. But it wasn't good for my noodle, you know. It was just really stressful and taxing, and I just had forgotten kind of how to take care of myself. I was putting a lot of other people first, like everyone else first, really, and you know, even the band came first before me, and like that's a whole nother. You know, I was married at the time, and like that's a whole nother relationship with two dudes. You know, you know, you gotta communicate, you gotta be honest, you gotta be transparent about everything, and so we played a couple shows that just did not go so well. I knew the vibe was off, and then sure enough, like I quit my job, went up to school to go learn how to cut hair and like all that kind of thing. And then on the way home, my mom called me and she was just like, I gotta put the dog down. I was like, motherfucker. so yeah, but she was kind of like, it was like our dog, my dog a little bit. So she's like, just kind of want to get the blessing from everybody. And I was like, yeah, like it's time, you know, she's an old good dog. So yeah, it's all good. So then she's like, you should call your sister. You know, I'm like, fuck, all right. So I have another shitty conversation like that. And then Mike and I had texted like briefly. Oh yeah, so what happened actually, I'm missing a huge thing, is we actually had to cancel a show the day of in Lethbridge. Mike had just had something had happened. He wasn't feeling well, and it was what it was. Yeah. You know, and so I had to kind of scramble around, call the promoter, try and make it work. He was like, you guys down to play a 2-piece? You guys down to do this, do that? And like, dude, it was just like, this is it. Like, for me, I was like, I knew that was it, kind of thing. And so on the way home, after I got the phone call about my dog and my sister, whatever, I was like, well, fuck it, three's a charm. And so I just called Mike and I was like, dude, like we got to talk, you know? And like, we talked it out. There's a bit of a fuck you screaming match during it, but really, you know, during the conversation, I remember saying like, if this is what it's going to do, like, I don't want it. Like, you're my family first. Like, fuck music, you know, like that is like so secondary. And, it kind of sucked, man. I just haven't really heard from him since either. So
yeah, because right now the band isn't like active by any means.
Yeah, it's like it is what it is. Like Nick and I, we flirt with the idea of like doing some stuff. We still have like 3 unwritten songs or unreleased songs that I think would be kind of fun to get out there eventually. Yeah, but in due time, and you know, there's a lot of other fires going on in my life right now. So music, unfortunately, is just like still the steady back burner, but it's just like. It's a good safety net for me. Yeah. You know,
but like if there's anything I've learned with music of any genre, it's like, you know, you could be really hard on yourself to like, oh man, we're not doing anything. We're like, people are forgetting about us. But as soon as like that chapter maybe comes back up, either of your own accord or, you know, something else happens, it's like, you know, just right back where you started or where you left it.
Yeah, totally.
One of my bands, like when I moved here from Winnipeg, it's like we didn't do shit all for like 2 years. And then we had there was a show opportunity and we're like, yeah, that'd be fun. And then it's like we came back and it's like we never left in a way.
Sick.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that we can get something like that going. I mean, that'd be fun. Either way, like I'm kind of cooling right now. Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of other shit going on in my life that's just like overwhelming. So music has to take another back seat for a bit, but it's all good. Like it's just, this year has just been a year of growth and like really understanding of who I am and what I want and like how to get it. Right. You know? And so with music, like, pardon me, that was a dick move.
You're fine.
I just want to like, I don't want to play your average shit. You know, I want to just kind of do something different, like have elements of everything that I love in there. And like, there's a lot of bands that I've heard, like, I mean, again, comment section, cuss me out if you want, but like, I think Deaf Heaven is really cool in the sense of like, they are really like, fuck what you think you know about metal, music, whatever. And it's like, it's honestly, it's just kind of just beautiful when you break it down to it and you take all the labels and all the bullshit away from it and like the imagery that they're trying to go for, all that stuff. If you were just handed a blank white CD, pop that thing in your car and like just listened to it and you didn't know any other information out of the band, you'd be like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is wild. Right? And so, yeah, it's kind of like stuff like just have fun.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun with music, you know,
Yeah.
just be able to enjoy it.
I've always loved bands that like, even outside of music, like my favorite like video game production company is Nintendo, because they're like so free just to try different things. Like, hey, we're gonna make this video game that's like a cardboard thing and you wear it. It's like, that's fucking weird, Nintendo, but I'm gonna let you have that freedom to do what you want. And then the next thing that they come up with, same thing with music, like you know, Code Orange will get like knocked, I think, you know, so much because they have so many eyes on them now, but like they've really pushed like different things in the metal industry that like, you know, people like Corey Taylor are like, yeah, this is sick.
Yeah, it's sick. Like that is kind of like one of the things that does bum me out about hardcore, if I can be honest, is just like, I feel like it's very cliquey. It's very like, who do you know and how do you know them? When you go to a show, I've said this before to a really close friend of mine, Jess Ferrand, love you. I've never felt more at home and more uncomfortable in one place sometimes than at a hardcore show. Because I got my crew, I got my homies, you know, like I know this fool, I know that fool, like we're all good. But then there's some other cats in the corner that are looking a little sideways, and it's just like, I understand it's like a very anxious scene. We all have our things, we have our isms, but a lot of times it just comes across as very like machismo and like, fuck bro, do you want a problem? Like, I don't want a problem tonight, you know, like I just want to enjoy this shit. And so for me, I just like, I don't know, it just got to be a lot. And I just, the hype about a lot of shit too, like people forget about, I feel like what it's truly about, which is like the music, and they get caught up in the hype of this fucking band or whatever they're doing and where they're going, what they're wearing and what kind of shit they're playing. It's just like, that's them. What are you doing? You know, like, what do you want to do? Right. Like, it's just like, that's what bums me out the most, is when people just have the blinders on and they're like only seeing that. And it's like, no, dog, there's a whole nother world out there. Lift that shit up. This is just a beautiful little part of it. Yeah. You know, and there's just so much more waiting for you, as far as just like taking what you learn in the outside world from other music and bringing it back. You know, like, I don't know, throw an Egyptian scale into a hardcore song. Like, that would sound rad as hell. You know, the Spanish scale is sexy. Throw that thing in there and throw people through a loop. You know, like, think differently. Yeah. Like, yeah, and we've talked about this over a number of haircuts. But you know, the thing that I've always believed in with like with Scoped, and even just like how I carry myself at shows, is like, you know, be the change that I want to see. Because fully, yes, that's so important. That was one of the, like, Jeff, the first moment I met him, dude, I didn't know that dude at all, and he's like, you're my homie's homie, you're my homie. And I was like, that's just like love. Yeah. You know? And so that's why I go out of my way to make sure that, like, I'm going to probably cry, but like, fucking just let your friends know you love them. Like, there's no shame in that. There's no like if you have any idea of like, oh, that's not tough, or that's not like, those cool kids aren't doing that shit, like, man, fuck the cool kids then. Yeah. Straight up. If you can't have an uncomfortable conversation with your friends being like, yo, I'm not doing so hot. Like, there's some crazy shit going on in my brain right now. I'm like, I don't know what to do. What if they're just like, it's okay, like, I'm just going to listen, you know? And like, it's, yeah, I guess like there is a time right now where I feel like in hardcore, there's like a fit in or fuck off mentality. And I don't like that either. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Yeah. But like, yeah, that whole like, dude, no, it's love, man. It's family. Yeah. You know, and that's like the skateboarding thing, right? Like, that thing is sitting right past the camera. It's just been staring at me this whole time. But like, it all goes back to that for me. Like, I try to treat everyone, if you're new, if you're old in my life, the exact same way every single time. Yeah. I try to be the same person in every single room, because like, I can fortunately look back on my life and be like, I was a fucker. I was a really bad person. And I have a choice every morning. I can wake up and do that, or I can really work my ass off and not do that. Right. You know, and I can really come back and try and like do well and do right instead of take, you know? Yeah. And I think like, you know, in hardcore, like, I think a lot of people will,
go for coffee or go for whatever and like have those conversations about like maybe what they don't like in the scene or like,
Totally.
Like I've said numerous times to people, like, I don't try to get like caught up in the bullshit or the drama. But there are aspects of hardcore where it is like, oh, so-and-so got called out for this. So-and-so did this.
Bullshit. The hype bullshit, man.
And I think like, again, going back to like the change I want to see, like, it's just like you said, like, I think that's a great thing. Like just showing love to people for just being there in that room. To
put in my 2 cents, unless those people are getting called out for being abusers or predators, fuck those nerds. Put them in jail or kill them. Who cares?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, if it's just like whatever, but like,
I think it was
gotta be love.
Yeah, I think I heard. I'm trying to remember where I heard this, but like Joe Hardcore, who puts on like This Is Hardcore, is like, don't just like, go and talk to someone because they're in some band and you want to like show them your demo or whatever, or like take a selfie. It's like you have far more in common with the people at this fest who are like sunk in $1,000 to like travel to a weird like to Louisville, Kentucky, to like or wherever it is in the world. So like to not realize that you have potentially far more in common with that person and only see the differences, because like I totally like don't expect to be best buddies with every single person that I go to a hardcore show with.
Totally.
But to be like, hey man, how's it going? Like, glad you're here.
Yeah. Just extend the hand. Like if you see someone who's looking a little shook in the corner, like, yo, is this your first show? Welcome. My name's I'm Dan. This is my homie over here. If you're feeling whatever, like come over by us. It's all good. Like we got you.
Yeah.
It takes no effort to not be a dick.
Yeah.
Straight up. You have to like go out of your way.
Yeah.
To be a dick. And I feel like a lot of people do that and I'm just like over it. I want to like, everybody has their days too, right? But like,
yeah, that's like, it is kind of weird because it's like, sometimes it's like, people have those social anxieties that they like, I like hardcore and I want to be a part of this community, but like being around all these, like anybody of this degree is like, it's too much for me, and I can be empathetic towards that.
Totally. And like I'm absolutely empathetic towards that as well. And it's just like if like take what you like and leave the rest, I guess, like as far as that it goes. And like that's kind of what I've had to do with hardcore, right? Like, like I'll take what I like the energy, I like the music, I like this, I like that, but for me, unfortunately, in the last few years, just like shows got uncomfortable for some reason. And like and I think seeing a lot of those people, like just because we would hang out with Jeff so often, like all together, I think it just kind of got a little tough for me too. Like some people handled it well and some people didn't. And I just knew that I knew what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to go grieve in my own way and like go and like deal with my own shit and like just do me and like head down, like do my thing,
Yeah.
Like obviously I still love all those dudes.
Yeah.
But like people change, we grow apart. Like, I'm so like on my own path of just like, I'm into this right now. Like I'm going to go do that. And I'm just going to go branch out. I always want to learn more. So I'm just like always just like trying to figure out something to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. I'm making no fucking sense at all. I feel like I'm just scattered.
No, we've been going for a solid hour, which is pretty crazy. Did you want to talk about like how you got into like cutting hair and barbering, if that's the correct term?
Yeah, sure, barbering. Yeah, that's fun, man. That's a weird one, dude. So like when I first moved to Calgary, I was living at that fool's house, $400, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have a bed. So I was sleeping in a hoodie and like gym shorts with a rolled up hoodie as a pillow for like 6 months.
Whoa.
Like a minute. And then I ended up getting like a little foamy
That's
roller and that was living. That was sick. Oh, I've been homeless. I lived in my car and shit before. It's fucking whatever.
You kick back.
Yeah. I mean, I was homeless in a Cadillac. That shit was tight. Backseat dog, just kicking it. So yeah, living at this house. And I just was broke. I was living in Queensland down in the south, and I was like trying to skate everywhere, and so I didn't have money for trains and shit, so I just like hop on, hop off, like just be sketchy little hood rat shit, like just little skater things, I was like 20, so whatever. And then so just the hair thing just kind of like happened, so I eventually just like had long hair, and I was just, like, people liked it or whatever, I liked it, it was fun. It's like I have a horrible hairline. Look at that. So obviously that shit needed to go because it was looking pretty skelety. Getting that sweet cul-de-sac in there. And so I ended up I was working at the Source on on 17th Avenue, and across the street was a salon called Chrome. And I went and booked an appointment with this dude named Richard. And so the next week I went over there for my appointment with Richard, and he showed up and he's just like, we're doing what? Like, we're cutting that off? And he was so pissed. But I was like, yeah, dog, like, I want to donate this. Like, there's enough. I made sure there's enough to, like, we can donate to, like, a kid's cancer foundation so that some kid can rock a sweet, like, mullet or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ideally, that would be sick. So either way, homeboy cut me up, treated me real nice, and I was just like, whoa, what was that? Like, I never had that experience before because, you know, growing up, like, my stepdad was not involved at all. My dad was not in the picture at all. My mom was doing what she could, what she had, you know, but it was just all fucking fast and loose, you know. So it was just like, go get a haircut. Like, all right. Like, can I get a Caesar cut? You know, like, I don't know what else to ask for. Yeah. So when I got the haircut, I got like super into it. I was like, damn, like, that was really neat. That felt good. And so I got into like shaving. So I started like straight shaving myself and shit like that, and kind of like just doing little things and just like little self-care things. And so I was working for, I was a sales rep for a few years for Vans footwear and like some other companies as well, like snowboarding stuff. That was a job that I like absolutely loved. It was so sick. It was just like a lot. And so I had to make that call to quit. I didn't have anything lined up afterwards, but I knew I needed to quit. So it was March 15th last year. And then on March 16th, my best friend Peter Lobus, he was living in London, England at the time, doing his barber shit. Oh, okay. And this is just like something, and like to cut back to, like, I had cut a couple friends' hairs at home, like intermittently throughout the years, just like for fun. Yeah. Nothing good. And sorry. And and then like the next day, Pete called me from England, and I was just tripping. I was so stressed on. I didn't know what to do. And he, like, on the other end of the phone, all I heard was, dude. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And I was like, I knew exactly what he was going to say. He's like, you have to do this. Right. And so we had this like 2-3 hour long phone call. Like, this is why, you know, this is yada, yada. And I was like, dude, you're 100% right. So he was like
training you over the phone, or just
no, he just was like,
to get into it?
He's like, you need to do this. Like, you know that you need to do this. Like, you've been doing this, you did this, right, kind of thing. And so I was like, yo, holy shit, like, I haven't thought about this in years. Like, you're absolutely right. So put the gas pedal down, went to school, learned that shit, and then I came home and got a job at Cannibale barbershop, and I've been there ever since. Yeah. And I love it, dude. It's such a, again, with the whole addiction thing, when you're in rehab and, you know, you get these fucking letters from your family telling you how shitty you are, it really makes you reflect. Like, how can I do better? Right, and you see how much I saw how much I took. I was very selfish. I was, you know, very like, I was just not a good person. And so, like, from that moment on, when I learned all that kind of stuff, I was like, I need to be very conscious with my actions. Sure. Right, because I've had a lot of people say a lot of cool shit to me, or a lot of bad things to me, but it's like actions for me. You know, those speak louder than anything. Sure. And that's why I'm like, other than this, me talking shit for an hour, like, I'm pretty quiet about what I do. Right. You know, I don't talk about, like, if you come in for a haircut, like, and you play music, yeah, we can talk about music for sure. If you skate, we can talk about skate, snowboard, cool. You talk about that. Like, I got a laundry list of shit that I'm into. I can talk about that. Like, no problem. But yeah, it's
you're not going to go out of your way to, like, to say something of ill will or something,
or even just like about myself. Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna be like, oh, by the way, I'm playing guitar for fucking da-da-da. Like, you know, like, I'm not like, I like, bring it. If it happens, just let it be organic. You know, sure. If they ask you, cool, talk about it. Yeah. But if they don't ask, like, don't fucking talk about it. Yeah. You know, it's not about you during the appointment. It's about them. Right. It's 45 minutes. All your attention is on them. You know, and that's one of the things that, like, for me, going from a business, or going from an industry where I was like, all right, fool, like, get on the phone and sell shoes, like, sell. Like, here's your target. This is like an insane, like, there's so many zeros behind that shit. Like, oh my God, like, and I see how much, like, what the fuck? Where's the connection? And so, once I just like started barbering, I was just like, this is sick. Like, there's no one. I don't have to worry about shit. My phone is on the ledge. I got my water beside me and my coffee. We're kicking it. You know, it's just like we're hanging. And it's just like, that is the coolest thing to me, because it's like really like that slow down, smooth it out. Yeah. You know?
Kind of like your guitar teacher.
Totally. Yeah. Exactly. And so I've like applied that. And I also heard, I got re-reminded from that slow and smooth is fast thing from a real funny like helicopter guide. One time we were snowboarding. He was like on another spiritual realm, and he's just like at the dinner table, like, yeah, man, when you're on a helicopter, like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. But then as soon as he told me that, I remembered that from being a kid, and I was like, holy fuck, like, you're right. You're crazy, but you're right. Like, you know? But yeah.
So for how many, like, you've been doing that full time for like the past
almost a year.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be a year in like May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as like, because I know like a couple homies who are barbers, and hopefully that they're listening, but is there any like types of cuts that are either ones that you prefer to do, or like,
you got hair, I'll cut it. I don't care.
Right.
Like, I don't know. That's the thing, is like, I used to be shook. I used to stress about what was coming through the door.
Right.
Right. But I had to talk myself off the ledge, like I did with guitar. Right. Like, you know, back in the day, the fretboard wasn't this big scary universe thing. It was this little piece of wood with a bunch of little metal frets on it.
Right.
You know, so it's really not a big scary monster. You just got to learn how to work it. And so I had to break it down like that, right? Like, oh, this fool wants like a medium, a medium like taper, like a little fade on the bottom or whatever, and like keep it like lengthy up top. I used to be like, oh my God, how am I gonna do it? But like, once I just broke it down and like slow it down, smooth it out.
Right.
Before you know it, the cut's done.
Yeah. And
just like, it looks good just because you're taking your time. You got to put in the steps, right? Like, even with music too, right? Like I'm gonna talk. Hit the deck. I'm gonna hit some shots here for a sec. Nobody in particular, but like, I had to do it. Just learn how to play your instruments. Tune your guitars.
Yeah.
Take the time. Plan that shit out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things where like, I'm psyched that you're psyched, and I will never knock somebody's excitement. I'll never knock their enthusiasm to be involved with the community and the whatever. But there's a certain level of, not pride, but maybe like care, that like, maybe I'm just like anal, and like I just want to make sure that it's good, that what I have to show you is like maybe worthwhile.
Right.
Maybe to me.
Yeah.
But like, I get the fast punk shit where you're just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, that's sick. That's your own vibe. Like, that's cool. But like, my one biggest beef is just like, have your gear straightened up, have your own gear, tighten it up, learn how to play it. Yeah. Learn a couple scales. It's not that hard. Put the time in. It doesn't take that long, right? Like, it's just one of those things where it will amplify back to you,
right,
in so many ways, with people either saying, hey, I really like your music, or with you being like, hey, I'm really feeling well about how I'm playing.
Yeah.
And that's dope, because that's all it should ever be, is for you.
Yeah. And that's been a pretty interesting thing with Scoped, as especially in the early years. Like, I think it's more rare now, but I found in the early years it was always like, oh, we didn't play a good set, can you not post that?
Fool, fuck it is what it is.
And
learn from your shit.
Yeah,
learn from your mistakes, dude. That one that you filmed from us, so I remember that show, and I remember I made a face when you mentioned it, because we showed up to that show, not a fucking band had their own gear. I had to lend out all my gear all night, and I was like a little frustrated.
Fest?
Yeah, for the night, for that evening, right? It's like 6 other bands needed my cabs and my amps and my shit, and I was like, that was kind of, for me, that was like the drawing, like the line in the sand of like, all right, I don't know if I can fuck with this anymore.
Yeah.
Just, it felt so disrespectful, and I just felt so like, how do you not care?
Yeah.
Like, how do you not want to care to have your own bit of it, you know? And it's like, I get gear sharing, that's sick, but like, communication is key.
Yeah.
Beforehand would be tight.
Yeah.
Not 10 minutes before I play. And then during that set, one of the guys filming knocked out the input from one of my amps like right off the bat and blew my amp. And so the way we designed our sets was just like, once we're rolling, it's on and it's going. And like, we have like very big fluctuations and whatever, but it's like, we didn't stop. We didn't take a tuning break. We didn't take a, hey, like, how's it going? Like, you know, it was like, there was always something kind of going on.
Yeah.
And like, that was just the point of it, right? Keep that energy, keep the moment going. And yeah, I just remember at one point like playing something. I'm like, that's not right. Like, something's wrong. And so I like turned around and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, oh my God. And so yeah, I had to deal with all that shit. But like, unfortunately, that's just it. That's what it is. It's live music. This shit happens on the fly and you got to deal with it. And like, you know, looking back on that set, like somebody, I watched it like when it came out or whatever. And I was like, yeah, same thing. Like, oh fuck, like pissed off.
Yeah.
But I was just like, nah, who cares? It doesn't matter. There's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. I had fun regardless. Really, at the end of the day, like minus all the bullshit, I did have fun because I got to go play with music with my two best friends and we got to do whatever we wanted in front of a bunch of people who were like, who the fuck are these dudes and what are they playing? And like, why are they here? It's like, yep, like, cool, man, we're out. See you later, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, but that's always been a, you know, now I'm playing in a band in Calgary where like, you know, we played a show on Sunday and Jordan filmed it.
Yeah.
And now it's like even though I film so many bands and it's so like mundane for me, it's like trippy to be like, oh yeah, I remember playing this riff and I know like this many people were moving for it, or yeah, I definitely like played this part wrong or whatever it is. But like a thing early on, because I remember I hit up Sonny because I was like just starting to become friends with him through filming bands and things like that. And I was like, honestly, like I reached out to him because one band was asking to take down a set that I just posted. And I was like, it's not like, it has nothing to do with the video. It's like how they played this one song. And the thing that he told me, and I'm again, empathetic if a band is like, you know, has a specific thing, but half the time it's like, oh, like I broke my pedal board like gave out or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And most people like just want to see it, but like half the time I'm filming and I'm like, oh, something's happening with this person's strap or this person's whatever. I'm just not like zooming in. Yeah. Like the Spy Kids, like
totally. Yeah, totally.
But
engaged.
Like I'm not like focusing on that. I'm like, okay, something's happening. I'm gonna just pan away from that until I know it's resolved. Because
brush it under the rug, baby.
Yeah, but like,
it's all good.
You know, when I was talking with Sonny about that, he was like, you know, in the early days, like I've told bands like it's not my job to curate your image.
Yeah,
like
you're not in charge of their fuckery.
Yeah.
Like so if you blow it, dude. Like, you're just there to capture the thing, and like I said too, like learn from it, have fun, laugh at yourself.
But
like
that's key. That it's cool to like, you know, we filmed that Monolith set in 2017, and it's like 2020 now, and like, you know, 3 years have gone by. So I'm always thinking like, how is this set going to be received in 5 years?
Right.
Versus like, oh, I don't like how I played. Mm-hmm. Like the day after.
Oh, dude, if you can't,
or the week after,
if at the end of the day, if you are so up your own ass that you can't even just be grateful that someone took the time to film your dumb ass doing what you do, like, fuck you, straight up. Like, what are you doing this for then? Like, it should just be about you and having fun. And if someone else is like, yo, that's really cool, I'm gonna do this, and like, you should, great, like gratitude.
Yeah.
Like that's. For me, that's the only thing that comes to mind. And just like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And again, like if there's ever, you know, a band or a member in a band who like wants to keep it a little bit more private, doesn't want to be as much on there, like,
cool.
You know, I've only heard a multitude of things through the grapevine, but like I've only had like maybe a handful of people be like, hey, can, you know, you not do that? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, usually it's like a member of one band, and I'm not trying to knock any of the bands because, like, you know, that's not my end goal here. But, like, I think it's, especially when I first moved here, it was like, oh, yeah, Spencer's, like, a lot of people didn't know that I actually like moved here at the beginning. They're like, oh, you drove up for this like small local show? I'm like, yeah, like 15 minutes away or whatever.
Yeah, like 4 months ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's like, it's so in the norm now. And I think overall documenting is like, you know, people are seeing the value of it.
Totally.
You know, cause like last year, like Sonny came out for this hardcore, not this is her, for Wild Rose.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it was really cool for like bands that we've filmed like 7 times that year, like get one set on his platform. So like, I think there will always be people, and if anyone wants to like pull back, just shoot me a DM, like whatever. Like, don't need to
totally
have a grudge or whatever against it. But yeah, I think we're good to start wrapping up.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I like to end these episodes on is like kind of like a crazy mosh story, and you've kind of shared a couple on the podcast, but if there's one that maybe we haven't touched on, either from early Calgary days or something pretty ignorant from.
Okay, I have 2 that just popped into my head.
Okay, sick. I like
first one. I was in Vernon. I was like 15. So I've always had like loose joints. My shoulders are loose, they pop out and shit. My knees are kind of loose, they pop out and shit. My ankles are like basically Play-Doh at this point. So 3 Inches of Blood was playing Vernon and someone else. This is when they were like still like original lineup. Like this was so sick. And I was all fired up. Like going to the pit, I'm just like, like windmilling and shit. Throw this arm out, and then I throw this arm out, and I'm just like sitting there with these fucking arms that are out. So I'd go up against the wall and just like kind of pushed it back in again. I tucked this one back in again. I was like, fuck, damn it. So yeah, I'm just there stuck with 2 sore ones. I thought that was just like funny as hell. Like just like to see like to be an older dude or something like that and watch that would have been hilarious. Like, and then the other one was kind of funny, but I also felt really bad right after I did it. It was for Jeff's memorial show, and Cody and I were just feeling shit. You know, we needed to get some shit off our chest, and we found these stools. So we were sitting on this, like waiting for Demolisher to start. Like they all got back together for the show, and he and I are just like rocking on these stools, just like waiting. Boom, first nose hits, and we just like take them and just like start moshing with them, and then I just fucking throw it across the room, and I hit this dude named Daniel, and like as soon as I threw it, I was all like, yeah, I'm a fucking tough guy, and then as soon as I threw it, I was like, oh my god, I feel so bad, and like fucking drilled him right in the stomach, like dude, like full on, and I was just like, oh god damn it, like so I was like, you good, homie, like, but yeah, I thought that was funny too, just like. I'm soft. Yeah. You know? Like,
as soon as it like goes, oh.
Yeah, totally. There's a moment of like, why did I do that? Yeah. That was such a dick thing to do. Yeah. But so funny. Feelings are feelings. And that's kind of the cool thing about hardcore that I do love is that you do just get to let it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't be a dickhead. Just let it out where it's acceptable, right? Mm-hmm. Just keep it into the pit. I kind of don't like crowd killing, but like it is what it is sometimes.
Yeah. But, yeah. Sometimes it's like I've seen some of the crowd kills where it's like this, and then it's like the pat on the head or whatever.
Yeah, that shit's funny. I'm down for that. Yeah. But like, yeah, just, you know, just remember, you're family, right? Take care of each other. Yeah. Like, you should have each other's back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you're all there together. You're all feeling the same shit probably at one point or another. So like, just remember that, you know, you're all fucking human.
Yeah.
Traumas and like experiences aside, like basing it all down, we just have emotions, right? And so like, we're all feeling the same shit.
Yeah.
Just situations are different.
Yeah.
Just keep that shit in mind.
More empathy, more compassion.
Straight up, more compassion, like all that shit. Just love, dude.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah. Cool.
So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I didn't know what to expect, you know, like I love what you guys are doing. I appreciate what you're doing, and I think it's important.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I think like, you know, having episodes like Curtis on here like are so important for voices like him. Like watch that fool.
Yeah.
Watch that fool in a couple years. I got my eyes on that dude, and I love that dude.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely go listen to the Curtis episode if you haven't, or watch it. But yeah, super. That's actually something that, and maybe I can tease this is, I've gotten a couple like messages for people being like, "Yo, the podcast is sick, but need some ladies." You know,
yeah, for
it's
sure.
just been white dudes.
Absolutely, fucking white dudes.
You're totally right.
Yeah.
So we have a couple plans for some female guests, some non-binary guests as well.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's included, dude. Like that's the thing is like, I've lived in enough places now where I've seen the hate, I've seen the bigotry, you know, ironically enough, most of it in Calgary. You know, in the sticks when I was living out in the hood or out in like out in the woods and stuff like that, like it was just like you didn't give a shit. Like you were just my homie. Yeah. You know, it didn't matter what color you were. And then when I moved to the city in Vernon, it was just like there was no like fighting because of you're this and you're that, or just like you're an asshole today, and I think we should kick each other's ass. I think that's a good idea. And so that's how we handled shit. You know, we just like fisticuffs, you know, and like it was never like a problem of like black, white, brown or whatever. It was just like, yeah, just I didn't really know about racism until I moved to Calgary. And so that's another trip. Yeah. But
yeah, not to say like Calgary is like a
no, not at all. It's like
city.
It's like a lovely city, but it's just like it was the first time I saw a Nazi parade, and I'm like, why aren't we shooting them? Why aren't we like stunnering every single one of these dudes right now? Like, why are we doing this?
Right.
This is just, this makes me sick. And like, but that, you know, that was just like, but I'm glad that I'm exposed to it now, because now now I know how that makes me feel. Like, fuck those dudes.
Yeah.
And like, fuck that way of life of just like thinking that like you're better than someone else. Like
for
whatever reason. Fucking reason, dude. Like, yeah. You know, like, nah, we're all level.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think I appreciate you coming on, you know, speaking directly from the heart and keeping things very transparent, because I think that's really important, because I really do hope that someone who's listening or watching, you know, either who's having a tough go with playing music or just like being in the hardcore scene, like just not like to discourage them from leaving that or stopping that, but to just think critically about it.
Totally. Just like, yeah, just look at it from your point of view. And like I said, just take what you like from it and you can leave the rest.
Yeah.
Like, that's all good.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like a really empowering thing at the end of the day. And that's life, dude.
Sweet.
You know?
How can people keep up with you? Or even though you keep things
very
under wraps.
Very low key these days.
Yeah.
I just have like an Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm getting a foot surgery here for an injury that's been plaguing me for as long as I can remember. So I'm out for 6 weeks, but then June I'll be skateboarding again.
Sick.
And so expect to see some clips. Your boy's fired up. And then who knows, like we might, there's been talks about playing some music again too, and just like fucking around. So if you want to keep up, like, and like I said too, if you at Tuck Kneeshaw.
Oh, Tuck Kneeshaw.
Yeah, at Tuck Kneeshaw, TUCKNEESHAW.
Sick. And if you're in Calgary, definitely go get your hair cut by this beautiful man. I need to book an appointment.
Could be fun. Yeah, it could be fun. You never know.
Sweet.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me, boys. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming on.
My man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening.